Hi, welcome to Hecate's Crossing as we continue our exploration of the Celestine prophecy. We're actually taking a break from the novel and having a look at the experiential guide, and we're up to the third insight. Okay, so we're looking at the third insight, a matter of energy. Traveling with Will through the majestic mountains of Peru, our character arrives at the Vinciente Lodge in a state of incredible beauty surrounded by exotic plants and ancient oaks. He finds himself surprisingly energized. Encountering several researchers exploring the energy field of plants, he begins to learn about the third insight. Practicing what he learns about seeing energy by focusing on the beauty of nature, he sees just for a moment the energy field surrounding a plant and how it can be affected by consciousness. The idea that perhaps we can make certain events come faster or slower, depending on how we think, intrigues our character. Skepticism gives way to genuine interest and curiosity. The third insight. The universe is pure energy. The third insight informs us that everything in the universe is made up of energy, and this energy creates all the forms and substance of what we call our reality. One big ocean of vibration. This energy coalesces into the myriad forms of existence, whether it be a rock, a wave, a flower, a coat in your closet, or yourself. Existence is made up of the same basic substance, and it is always in action, being born, unfolding, transforming, and shifting. We are co-creators through our thoughts. The third insight reveals that all things are literally one and therefore interconnected. Because all energy is interconnected, it is malleable to human consciousness. Through the action of intention, incredibly it responds to our expectations. Our radiating thoughts and feelings cause our energy to flow out into the world and affect other energy systems. Beauty raises our energy. The third insight encourages us to own the reality of this universal energy by observing it in nature and with people. In the beginning, the easiest way to get closer to seeing energy is to cultivate our appreciation of beauty. When we become aware of the unique and beautiful qualities of nature or of a person, we have in fact raised our vibration on the continuum of consciousness. After putting ourselves into resonance with the beauty of an object or person, the next level of perception will be to see the energy in that which we find beautiful. Becoming aware of energy raises our vibration. Awareness of universal energy is the foundation for ultimately engaging its flow and becoming a co-creator with it. Once we know that we are part of a living system of heretofore invisible energy, a core belief will have shifted and we will exist at a high vibration. When our mind reads the words on the page and our heart recognizes those words with a yes, of course, then we are beginning to integrate this insight. For some people, there might be a quickening of events and synchronicities, and for others, perhaps a newfound hope, clarity, or confidence. Some of us might have to go through a painful reorganization before we can rebuild. Even though things might not change in our lives as rapidly as we want them to, they will change. Try visualizing states of mind as the different frequency bands. As you bring in the higher vibrations of energy, such as awareness, gratitude, beauty, integrity, joy, and trust, you're actually harmonizing more closely with the universal energy. Everyday life becomes infused with your ability to stay connected through awareness, and even though there will be times when you experience stress, you'll be more likely to stay connected to the heartbeat of your spiritual guidance. When you're taking care of yourself, paying your rent, sharing with others, you're building a strong base that will support you in times of doubt. Every insight and connection you make with others who are also growing takes you to a higher level. Each shift makes the next one easier. Cellular consciousness. What does a philodendron plant have in common with a cup of yoga? In 1973, a book, The Secret Life of Plants, fascinated readers all over the world with stories of experimental research showing that plants possess amazing powers. Among these powers was the ability to detect what humans were thinking, even from miles away. We'll explore this in a minute. Although the search for a basic substance of life has gone on since the ancient Greeks, a new field of bioenergetics began in earnest in the 1960s, bringing to light the existence of invisible, intelligently communicating energy. One fateful day in 1966, an American expert on polygraph examination, the lie detector test, Clive Baxter, playfully hooked up his galvanometer to his office philodendron plant to see what kind of reaction, if any, it might report. He decided to dunk its leaves in the hot coffee he happened to be holding in his hand. Since there was no reaction, he began to think of a more serious threat to the plant. The instant that he thought of burning the leaf with a match, the galvanometer went wild. The reactions what he saw on his machine that evening led to hundreds more experiments that yielded proof that plants have the ability to think. Plants, normally attuned to each other, seem to monitor the movements of humans and animals in the environment down to the cellular level. For example, in one experiment where a researcher purposely destroyed one or two plants, the surviving plant was able to correctly identify the culprit among 6 other people, in a demonstration of the plant's ability to detect even subtler acts of violence. It also reacted when a researcher was preparing to eat a cup of yogurt. As he stirred some jam into the yogurt, the preservative in the jam caused the death of some of the live yogurt bacilli. This cellular death was picked up by the plant. Serious inquiry has since begun to bridge the fields of science and metaphysics. One investigator in the 1970s, research chemist Marcel Vogel, worked extensively with plants and their sensitivity to humans and their ability to register human thought and emotions. In one lecture he stated, "It is fact, man can and does communicate with plant life. Plants are extremely sensitive instruments for measuring man's emotions. They radiate energy forces beneficial to man. One can feel these forces, they feed into one's own force field, which in turn feeds back energy to the plant. The American Indians were keenly aware of these faculties. When in need, they would go into the woods with their arms extended. They would place their backs to the pine tree in order to replenish themselves with its power. Apparently, life retains memory and sentience, the ability to perceive even at a molecular level. Experiments at the cellular level by Baxter and cytologist Dr. Howard Miller showed that sperm cells turned out to be surprisingly canny and that they seemed to be capable of identifying and reacting to the presence of their own donor, ignoring the presence of other males. Such observations seem to imply that some sort of total memory may go down to the single cell. Sentience does not seem to stop at the cellular level. It may go down to the molecular, the atomic, and even the subatomic. All sorts of things which have been conventionally considered to be inanimate may have to be re-evaluated. Even though we might not be consciously aware of these minuscule connections, we are beginning to realize that we live within an intelligence greater than our own. Life, the internal flow of living energy, is the outgrowth of our intention and attention. It is designed to meet our needs through the blueprint within our cellular DNA. With the power of awareness, we activate our field, attracting in due time what we need. Developing at your own pace. In the novel, our character frequently makes such comments as, "I didn't quite grasp what Dobson was getting at. I'm not sure what that means. I was still confused." Or, "I felt as if the story continued but I couldn't quite grasp it." You might have had similar feelings too as you read or listen to the Celestine prophecy, once, twice, or even several times. You might have the tendency to want to get all the insights down, to understand them, use them, and move quickly toward a new life, rather than trying to solidify, codify, or hang on to your excitement about the insights. Accept that you're learning and integrating these insights at your own pace. For example, the third insight tells us that we'll learn to see the invisible energies around plants and people. Some of us do see this field, and many more will see it in the near future. For some, it will be easier than others. The important thing with the third insight is to accept the reality of universal energy. In The Adventure of Self-Discovery, Dr. Stanislav Grof writes, "A very common experience in the holotropic breathing mode is to see energy fields of various colors around other people that correspond to the traditional descriptions of auras. Occasionally, these are associated with spontaneous, specific insights into the health condition of the people involved. I've personally observed phenomena of this kind, not only in subjects in unusual states of consciousness, but also in accomplished psychics who can use their capacity to see auras in a reliable way in their everyday life. The extraordinary ability of one of these psychics, Jack Schwartz, to read the medical history of his clients and diagnose current diseases has been repeatedly tested and documented by medical researchers with impressive credentials. You might literally see energy, or you might sense it in other ways. Some people interpret energy as an inner knowing, and they might express it as, "I feel great power in that tree. I can feel its roots reaching for the center of the earth. I sense its wisdom or its age. Or the tree feels like a blessing, a shelter, a teacher." Others, more attuned to the sound vibration, might say, "I love hearing the creaking of the branches, and I hear the leaves whispering encouragement to me." If you cannot see the energies, fields in nature, don't worry. One woman said, "I got to the third insight and put the book down. I went downstairs to stare at my cat. She's so beautiful, I thought. I could see her energy. As much as I focused on her beauty, I still couldn't see the field. Continue your experiments if you wish, but don't assume that you're not evolving, because you're not yet able to actually see the energy. The heart awakens over time. In order for our own insights to grow into wisdom, they need fertile ground in which to place their roots and time to deepen. Fertile ground. A quiet mind is a fine place for us to begin. In the Celestine prophecy, the beautiful old estate of Vinciente Lodge provided a refuge where our character felt refreshed. In that supportive environment, he was able to respond to some of the suggestions for seeing energy, communing with the giant oaks and appreciating the beauty. If he was speeding down a freeway through the heart of a metropolitan area, it would have been more difficult to accomplish these tasks. When our intention is clear, even if it doesn't seem like a particularly spiritual desire, the result usually exceeds the expectation. If you're eager to apply the insights to your life, ask yourself, how can I improve my contact with natural beauty? Stability developed through nourishing daily habits is fertile ground for deepening our spiritual roots. Paradoxically, there are other times when our greatest vitality is found in adversity and challenge, where our seedling ideas are tested for strength. As one observer remarked about his desire for instant spiritual understanding, I guess I always wanted to grab the blossom without putting in the time developing the roots. Let your understanding of the insights develop gradually if that's the way it happens. If you desire greater spiritual fulfillment, you might ask yourself, am I taking good care of myself in everyday life? Radiating energy affects everyone. In India, there is a belief that if there is a one holy person in the village, the whole village reaps the benefit of his or her enlightenment. Dr. Patrick Tribble of Albany, California, tells how he observed the effect of one person's energy on others. I was lucky enough to meet painter Elizabeth Brunner, who had been friends with several world leaders such as Gandhi and Nehru. I went to her house once when she was in her 80s and was amazed to see that she had an aura that extended about 400 feet beyond her physical body. I watched visitors come to her, and just by being in her presence they become immediately loving and kind, even if they were greedy types. Such was her dedication to God. Many of you who read the Celestine prophecy and felt great energy and excitement, you might have felt as if the insights were somehow familiar to you. The degree to which you resonate with the insight shows that you've already been making preparations for the shift in consciousness. Remember, it might take some time to integrate your understanding of the insights with your existing framework of beliefs. If you're feeling a desire to make a deeper contribution to others through your life and work, you're already radiating out a level of support that assists the growth of new thinking. Your contribution is being you, as fully as you can be. You are a radiant being. Ask yourself, do I respect and like who I am? Energy fields. Earlier in this century, photographs of a mysterious luminance emanating from leaves, inanimate objects, and the fingertips of humans gave us a visual validation of what mystics had always referred to as the aura. For instance, Kirlian photography, named after the Russian couple who invented the process, is believed by many people to show this energy field. In the 1970s, further research by one of the world's experts on crystals, William A. Tiller at Stanford University, led to the speculation the radiation or energy coming out of a leaf or a human fingertip actually might be coming from whatever is present prior to the formation of cellular matter. This may be another level of substance, producing a hologram, a coherent energy pattern of a leaf, which is a force field for organizing matter to building itself in this kind of physical network. As each decade of the 20th century ends, the scientific search for proof of the inevitable continues. Even though these esoteric research projects remain in the periphery of most of our lives, it's possible that their discoveries reach us through the collective unconscious, our telecommunication system, as if sending little voicemail messages to us. These unconscious shifts in understanding create the fertile ground wherein the insights of the manuscript can take root. Energy responds to our expectations. Information seems to come when we need it. Perhaps more precisely, information is a constant stream, and our intention starts a sorting process for relevancy to the need. Like the bold function key on the computer, intention selects out what we need to know. As we shift to a high vibration, messages tend to flow in more quickly. When we're using our gifts and abilities with right intention, things come to us. If you're not experiencing that flow right now, shift your intention to being shown the way back to your path. Expect that during the day you will encounter people who have messages relevant to your needs. As you sharpen your awareness of the phenomenon, it tends to be built. Think back to a project that you really liked doing. Was there an ease to the flow of the energy? How did things start to fall into place? Did friends mention relevant sources of information or books? Usually the flow towards completion happens by a combination of conscious intent and unconscious attraction. Let's say you decide to create a more beautiful area on your outdoor deck for your meditations. Decide what plants and pots would look like nice. You remember you have a friend with a green thumb, and so you specifically ask for an assistant. Say, Barbara, do you know any good books on how to garden with containers? She gets enthusiastic about your project too. And now you can vividly imagine magenta bougainvillea and trellises of pink and yellow sweet peas. Expectation rises. Your awareness of different kinds of plants become activated as you drive through neighborhoods with yards that have seemed insignificant before. As you drive past a nursery, your eye instantly spots an array of Mexican pottery way back in the yard. Last month, you probably never even noticed a nursery on that corner because your mind had not yet formulated a need for it. And oddly enough, your neighbors move away, leaving you with their herbal planter box. For your birthday, two friends give you geraniums and a potted lemon tree. Eventually, there comes a time, perhaps at sunset, when you look around and you realize that your dream with abundance of plants and blooms surrounding your meditation chair has become a reality. The life you have at this moment is the completed picture of your current thoughts, beliefs, and past responses. Looking for messages in the events of the day. We never quite know how universal energy will appear with a message for us. For example, a woman we know received news that she was to be the new head of the psychiatric ward after working at the hospital for only 6 months. She had been promoted over someone else who had been there longer than she, and she was having a momentary anxiety attack over her ability to take on this new responsibility. Just at that moment, a colleague from a previous employment called to chat and said she'd been thinking of her. I really never told you how much I valued your input in designing our program last year. You created a whole new attitude when you were here. We really miss you. She could have chosen to see this call just as a friendly chat, or she could have noticed that it was a sign of encouragement, that she was on the right path and not to worry. As an experiment, carry your journal or a small notebook within you all day for 3 days and write down all important messages or lessons you pick up from daily encounters in person or on the phone. You might be surprised at the pattern that emerges. Pitfalls that cause energy loss. Even though you might have learnt to accentuate the positive in your attitudes and even begun to use more conscious positive language, you still might experience energy drains that seemingly slow your evolution. Anger, fear, resentment, aloofness, skepticism, and victimhood, not to mention sheer fatigue, are all common life occurrences for most of us. At first, as you open to a higher awareness of your life, you might begin to experience these states more often or more intensely. Several times in the novel, our character begins to droop, feels confused, has trouble making a decision, or reacts to his surroundings with fear, anxiety, and distrust. These are all signs that his energy has dropped. We all go through these periods. What to do? Getting in touch with your energy just the way it is. If you are experiencing low energy and need a boost, first get in touch with your body to identify just exactly what you're feeling. In most cases, it helps to write down your feelings in your journal. One woman told us the other day at work, I had the most anxious feeling. I had no idea what was going on. I was filling in at someone else's desk, and I couldn't leave right then. I didn't have my journal, so I just wrote on the back of the envelope. I realized that I was really overreacting to the fear, but I didn't know how to operate the telephone system at this desk very well. And I felt like I could easily get overwhelmed if more than 2 calls came in at once. The deeper fear behind the panic was that I'm new at this job and scared of making mistakes and getting fired. Anyway, I prayed that the phones wouldn't ring at all at once, and they didn't. But it seems like even tiny prayers get answered more for me lately. Keep breathing. No matter where we are, we have breath. Many times we can calm ourselves quickly by simply paying attention to our breath for a few minutes. If you're feeling drained, try sitting quietly and imagine a sturdy cord extending from the base of your spine downward into the earth. Imagine drawing some of the powerful energy up your cord into the center of your chest. Then imagine opening the top of your head to allow a silver cord to extend upward into the sky. Let healing, refreshing energy flow down your cord into the center of your chest, connecting with the earth energy. Soon you should experience a shift in energy. At other times you'll be overwhelmed with energy, for example, in a heated argument. If you want to calm down, you might take yourself to another room or neutral place, quiet place, and sit with eyes closed. Again, it might help to visualize a sturdy cord connected to the end of the spinal cord and extending downward onto the earth. Let your excess energy drain off down the cord and return to the earth energy. Instant masters have perfected the ability to cultivate energy with the breath, and there are many good books on such ancient practices as pranayama and qigong. You might want to practice these. In either case of being over or undercharged, a brief 5 or 10-minute walk can also do wonders. Bringing in light. A simple exercise that you can do to energize yourself or to help solve a problem is to imagine surrounding yourself with light. This is especially good to do on breaks from work or anywhere that you don't want to call attention to yourself. Close your eyes briefly or rest your eyes closed on the palms of your hands. Imagine a great shower of light bathing over you, enveloping you in radiance. Bask in this inner sunbath. Feel the warmth and brilliance of the light. Imagine the room you're sitting in to be flooded with this light. Take a few minutes to intensify the image. Experiment a few times a day for a week and see if you notice any changes in yourself or those around you. They're getting the light and energy too, whether they know it or not. Summary of the third insight. The third insight describes our new view of the universe as energy dynamic. As we look out on the world around us, no longer can we think of everything as composed of material substance. From the many findings of modern physics and the growing synthesis with the wisdom of the East, we are coming to know the universe as a vast field of energy, a quantum world in which all phenomena are interconnected and responsive. From the wisdom of Eastern thought, we know that we can ourselves have access to the universal energy. We can project it outward and with our thoughts and intentions, influencing our reality and the reality of others. That's it from me. Don't forget to check the links down below. Check the links on my channel. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you know when the next video will be uploaded.